Welcome to the summit and our general session for developers. I'm very excited that you all are here. You know, the pandemic has kind of got our numbers down a little bit, but they're starting to grow back up. So I'm really excited to see all these faces. This is an opportunity for us to get together, make new friends, reinforce our relationships with one another, and learn about all the great things that we're doing in the developer community. That's going to be the main focus here today. So with me today, I have Dimitri Blondeel. He is the VP of Product Strategy. So he's going to talk a little bit about the developer landscape and how that's changing. And then I have Mik Shchelkonogov, and hopefully I didn't butcher his last name. He kind of winced a bit. He's our Cheif Technical Officer. You saw him hopefully in the keynote. It was a great demo. It made it really nice, seeing the new user interface and how easy it is to change things on the fly. So he got the biggest roar this morning, so that was great. Good job, Mik. And then we have three special guests. These are developer MVPs that I've worked with for probably at least 5 years minimum with these guys. So I have Patrick Chen here with us from SPS Commerce. I have Kulvir from the Answer Company, and I have Brian Stevens from SETECH. Now, what they're going to talk about is kind of their unique developer story, starting from the ISV to the VAR to the end user customer. All right, Dimitri, why don't you come on?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey. I'm the new guy in the room, right? Everybody knows each other. I'm the new guy. I just joined at Acumatica about 4 months ago. But I'm glad to see a lot of familiar faces in the audience already. So I hope you had a good first few days for those of you who participated in the hackathon. I hope you had a good first presentation for everyone. As the new guy, I'm not going to dive into too many details. I'm going to try and talk to you a little bit about the broad trends that we see in the industry and where those trends will take you as an Acumatica developer. So one thing that I want to mention and build on what John and Sanket and those guys said in the keynote speech is that these are weird times for everyone, right? We had inflation, we've got massive layoffs in Silicon Valley and across the West Coast in the tech sector. We've got AI coming for your jobs, right? But I think that 2023 will be an awesome year for especially the Acumatica developer community because people are looking for automation, right? And there's still labor shortage, There's all these developers that have been laid off, but it's still really hard to fill developer positions, right? So awesome times for you guys. I also think that the businesses want us to be really focused because they need to grow. They're scared of hiring people, right? It's not a good time to add to your headcount. So they want automation. And they want us to create really focused, really business-oriented solutions. So I think 2023 is going to be a great year for us pro developers. It's also a year where there's no time for frivolous projects. There's no time for trying to invent something that may be nice in 2 years. I think this is a time to really put on your business hat and create solutions that are helping businesses succeed in this weird day and age. So we're going to talk a little bit about one of the challenges that I've seen when I joined Acumatica. And that is bad code, right? And this is not me finger pointing at you, because I'm 100% certain that everyone in the room here produces the nicest and cleanest code anyone has ever seen. But I put a ChatGPT window on there because there's going to be dangerous people around, especially with ChatGPT having this really, really, really dangerous button there called copy code. There's going to be people like me who haven't coded in 20 years. We're going to think, hey, I can do a customization in Acumatica. I just need to ask ChatGPT, copy the code, publish, right? Bad, bad, bad. Already today, in all our support cases that we see within Acumatica, and that's just the top of the iceberg. Obviously, most of the support cases are handled by partners. But 50% of the support cases that are related to bad performance of the platform have to do with bad code, poorly written code, sometimes written by people who don't know the difference between an inner and an outer join, right? 50% of our performance issues. 99% of data inconsistencies is bad code. So we need to protect ourselves as a pro-developer community, but especially as a company like Acumatica, we need to protect ourselves against those bad coders. And I'm just going to take a few minutes to explain how we are thinking about the changing developer landscape and how we're going to get ahead of this whole problem. So right now, we've got customers, we've got VAR developers, we've got ISV developers, we've got OEM developers, right? They all use our amazing platform, our open platform, and they are supported by Mark and others in this amazing community, right? We think that there's a new class emerging, and I have to click this twice, which I like to call the citizen developer. It's a very fashionable term. One of the teams in the hackathon used the term yesterday during their presentations. It's the person who just wants to do their job, and they want to do it quickly, efficiently, they don't care how. If they need to go to ChatGPT and copy code, they're going to do it, right? That's the type of business user that we're talking about. We will acknowledge this class of developers, between brackets. And for example, Mike's demo this morning in the keynote is one example of how we can allow people with no coding experience to make changes to the product in a responsible way, right? That's the keynote. We want to stay this open, transparent, extensible platform, and we want to empower people in a responsible way. And that's why next year you're going to hear us talk more and more about citizen developers. That means, in my book, people who write no code, right? Some of our customers will go there. There's also a lot of very good coders in our customer base. There's one on stage later today, Brian. I've seen our customer of the year in the audience. Very good developers in our customer base, but I'm going to mainly talk about the VAR and ISV examples here. We're going to really make sure that we include everyone in our documentation, in all our initiatives. I'm not going to steal Mark's thunder, but he's going to announce a few initiatives that we're going to take next year, and that's going to include people from those various communities. And that's going to evolve into something that we now call, and it's a working title, that we now call the Acumatica Trusted Developer Program. I'm not sure yet what it's going to entail, right? It's probably going to be a new badge. It's probably going to be a new educational track. It's probably going to be new interfaces to connect to Acumatica. And I think it's going to be a badge that's going to distinguish the people in this audience from ChatGPT. Right? So we also will have to include guardrails in our product, right? We're going to have to start thinking about making sure that unauthorized coders don't just publish that bad code. How is that going to look like? Not sure yet, but it's a priority for us to work on in the next couple of years. Finally, call to action, basically, from my side of the house. As I said in the beginning, let's tighten up our pro game. Let's focus on really, really valuable projects that deliver business value. Let us, as professional developers, let us help the citizen developers shine. They're not a threat to you, right? They're actually an ally. They can do the work that you're overqualified to do. And then finally, we want to hear from you. So if you see me during this conference, talk to me. I've already talked to many, many people in this audience. Talk to me, give me your input. How do you see the future? How do you see yourself coping with the current challenges? And finally, let's together reduce the WTFs per minute. And with that, I'm going to hand off to the major ERP celebrity, Mike.
Click it. Click it. Click it. Go forward. Get to his. There you go.
Hi, guys, and welcome.
I was just like,
Absolutely happy to see you here. And my presentation today won't be very long, I promise. I already did my demo, and like nothing exciting comes here on this stage. But I'm going to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to talk on what went well from the engineering perspective during the last year and what you can expect this year from us. And then I will a little bit elaborate in terms of big projects that we are running. So let's start with what went well. Generally, we have a very good and very noticeable progress on the new user interface. And I will not put all the slides, how the architecture works and so on. What is important to understand is we finalized the architecture. We will be releasing the developers preview, so the screens that I was demonstrating on the stage will be somewhat available in the release that upcoming in March. And you will be able to take it. You will be able to try to create your new user interface for the existing screens. You can try it to build up a new one. So, like, you will be able to play it. And I definitely encourage you to try to do that. It will come up with the documentation, with the samples, so you will be able to start to learn it. But from the practical standpoint of view, our roadmap on the new user interface will be explained later on the next slide. Then we did started to plan a migration. So that will be one topic that I will talk separately on my next slide. We do have, in parallel with the new user interface, we do have a good progress on refactoring the application code and preparing it for the .NET Core migration. That leads to the certain changes in our APIs, what kind of technologies we're using, and so on. And still, we do have a large amount of work ahead of us, and we will try to do it in such a way that whenever we release the new user interface into production, we will be supporting the .NET Core, and we will be running on the .NET Core. We also have a very good progress. I put a good progress, but in my opinion, it's a very good progress in terms of improving the software, in terms of scalability, stability, and availability of the product. So our engineering team put a lot of efforts in terms of reading the telemetry data, analyzing the errors, crashes, excessive memory consumption that we do have on the back end, identifying these problems, refactoring the code to avoid these problems, providing you an API and enhanced diagnostics in such cases where you consume some technologies that can lead to this overstated system usage and so on. And you do get it with the new product. We will have sessions about that, but I consider it as a good progress. And yet we managed to release some nice features. Now, what the development team will be focusing next year? Fortunately or unfortunately, it's not that much. So still, you've seen this pillar from us last year. It didn't change. You've seen it on the developer conference. We're working, like, our three main directions is modernization and the new user interface and usability of the product, improving the data analysis and the data insights tool, and implementing the low-code, no-code customization framework, or enhancing the low-code, no-code customization framework. And by the way, what you've seen on the demo today is exactly like modernization and user interface together with the low-code, no-code. Then we will continue our investments into the performance and optimization of the software. So for us, the three main things for this year are the following. First of all, we will continue to work on the new user interface and .NET Core migration. It's a huge undertaking for us. We will continue to do it, and we're committed to release it. Then we will reboot what we call the new reporting project. That's the work that we plan to do about our reporting tools and enhancing our generic inquiry functionality, our dashboards, our KPIs, and so on. Unfortunately, during 2022, the team who was supposed to do it was really heavily involved with the refactoring and .NET Core migration. Now we're in a better position, so we will be rebooting this project. And then the rest of the team will focus on improving the system performance, scalability, and reliability, and doing the refactoring that helps us to improve development API, improve the stability of the product, handle larger volumes of data, and so on and etc. So you can see on one side it's not much, but when you think about this, all the new user interface and .NET Core, it's a huge undertaking because we're literally redoing the job that we were doing last 10 years. We need to repeat it in a very short time frame. So now, my next slide is kind of important, and it gives you a timeline, an idea of what to expect from us with this new user interface roadmap, and when it comes, and what it means for you. So first of all, with this release, we're releasing the developer preview. The developer preview allows you to take the screen, convert it to the new technology. It probably supports around 80% of the current functionality. It doesn't support 100%. When I say doesn't support 100%, I will give you a sample. Like, let's say you do have a lookup field, and when you click a free on the lookup, you may select the value and populate it back into the screen. It all works with except the fact that the keyboard actions are not fine-tuned. So system not immediately focuses on the first line. When you click down, it doesn't move to the next line. You need manually focus on first line, then the keys start to work. So these kind of things yet for us to polish. Technology generally works, generally stable, and we're kind of confident that that's something that we're going to keep. Then, after releasing that, we will focus on the technology release, and that's this upcoming half a year. We basically will work to polish all these things. We will work to provide a conversion tools. We will work on getting the feedback from our developers and from you to release this as a technology release. That means that it's ready for the commercial use. But at this point of time, we yet will not have the application converted to the new user interface because it's a huge job as well. It's like over close to 500 screens, but it's not only converting them, it's adapting all the regression testing to this new user interface. And that's a lot. Whenever we did the technology release, we will give the conversion tools and this technology to our developers, and we will start to work on converting the screens. And that comes up, at least at this point of time, we plan it to come up in 24R1. Do we commit to do this? I will be very fair with you. We will try our best, but at this point of time, I will not give my finger for that. We may face with some unexpected complications. But we will try hard to do it, to make it happen. And then, between the 24R1 and 25R1, we will keep both interfaces in parallel. That means that you can still use the new technology. You do not need immediately convert your product. You will be given 1 year to work on your ISV product, on the customizations, on everything, to make this transition. And this is very important because otherwise it will be like really very difficult. So now, keep this in mind. I think it is important. Whenever you will get the release, if you have the time, if you are interested, try to take a look on this new technology to understand what is expected. Realize that we will provide the conversion tools for the existing screens, so you don't need to do anything from the scratch, but at least play with that to understand what is that and what to expect. Then probably that's it on my side, and I will hand it over to Mark Franks. But before doing that, I really encourage you to go to the development sessions where we'll have a presentation, demo how it works, examples of work. We elaborate this technology more deep, and that will give you an idea of what we're working on. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Is my mic on? Where's my mic? Can you hear me? Okay, great. Now I can hear myself. Is the photographer in the room? I saw him earlier. Oh, there you are. I was panicking, and people probably saw me go, where is he? So good, I have him here. So what I'm going to do now is talk about really a celebration of the community at large here. It's all about the developer MVPs who've spent a lot of time working, doing blogs, doing presentations, contributing code, so on and so forth. And I'm about to announce the Developer of the Year. So just for those of you who don't know, we have a developer MVP badge. It's part of this overall program for the MVP. But what's different is that there are set requirements. I send out an LOA, a letter of agreement, to the person's boss and the developer, so the boss knows what is expected of that individual. They're expected to produce 2 blogs a year, contribute code, attend the summit, the hackathon, so on and so forth. At least answer 18 questions, developer questions, either on Stack Overflow or our community site. And then for extra credit, like I said, they present, they do all kinds of extra things that distinguish themselves from others. And that's how we pick the MVP award. So right now we have 28 active developer MVPs. If you're a developer MVP, can you stand up? Because there should be a few of you in here at least. So if you'll give them a hand. These individuals spend a lot of extra time outside of their job, working weekends, working late at night to produce content that you can consume. It's all about sharing. And what I invite the greater group of you to do is get involved in the community. So to put a face on it, they stood up, but here's a face of it. So we have this spotlight page, right? You can just search on Acumatica.com for Spotlight and you'll find it. You don't have to remember that it's developer-spotlight. But these are the individuals. And if you click on one of them, so this one I have Brian Stevens, you can learn a little bit more about the developer MVPs, what their background is, and what they do. So I already talked about what the requirements are, and you can see if you recognize Stéphane Boulanger, he was last year's developer MVP. This year's MVP, like I said, did the base requirements. The person also last year here at Summit did a live podcast talking about the hackathon. And you'll notice from him, if you ever talk to the person, they always talk about the hackathon, right? This individual also traveled from his home in Tennessee. I can't remember if it was Atlanta or Florida, but he drove all the way to participate in a Southeastern user group and did developer sessions and had a panel. This individual also has spearheaded a brand new open source project, CMMS Lite. I forgot to put the Lite in there. It's a GitHub project. And we actually have a session where we talk about it in the lightning session, right? So with no further ado, I'd like to announce this year's 2023 Developer of the Year, Brian Stevens. This is all. So it's been a real pleasure working for Brian. I remember when he first started with it, and you may have heard his story because he talks about it all the time. Oh, I didn't know anything. I was the old school developer, you know. I can't believe you let me in the MVP program. You know, he's one of the classic, and there's a few of you out there, and you know who you are, that basically undersell yourselves, right? They have imposter syndrome. This guy's an amazing guy and a great developer, and I'm really pleased that to be able to give this award to you. Can we get a couple more pictures? Thank you. So Brian, you're going to stay on the stage because you're going to be talking here. So no, it's coming up. You're going to sit down.
We are shipping your engraved.
That's not yours.
Right to you.
It's a faux award. It's the exact same thing, but it has your name on it.
Now you don't have to count it as your luggage weight.
Right. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 3 developers, the MVPs, and they're going to come up. I'm going to invite them up now. So Patrick and Kulvir. And Patrick's going to go first. And I'm going to sit here.
Hello, hello. Hear me?
Keep it near your chin.
Yeah, keep it. Good afternoon. All right. Well, my name is Patrick, and I've been asked to do a short talk on what it's like to be an ISV developer. As you see on the slide there, my name is Patrick Chen. I'm a staff software engineer with SPS Commerce. And I've been in the ERP space for about 17 years now, developing software. I've been working on Acumatica for the last 10. For most of that time, I've been a VAR developer, but for the last 4 years, I've had the privilege of being an ISV developer with SPS. We'll see, let's move it forward. Okay, if you're not familiar, SPS Commerce is an EDI provider. We build an integration with Acumatica in order to plug you into the EDI ecosystem. Just a quick background, if you're not familiar, EDI stands for Electronic Data Interchange, a wonderfully vague acronym. Basically what it means is how retailers and suppliers communicate with each other. You ever been in a big box store and you wonder, how all these shelves get stocked with so many various products from around the world? It's through an EDI system of sending out POs, invoices, distribution documents, and that sort of thing. So I won't go too much into this. We're a publicly held company with around 2,000 employees and offices around the world, headquartered in Minneapolis. We got a big team of experts and a huge network of connections between retailers and suppliers. So if you're interested, come by our booth over in the marketplace. So get on to the good stuff. So that brings me to me and my team and I, excuse me. And we've been working on Acumatica for about, since 2016, build an integrated solution for the Acumatica ERP to plug you into the EDI ecosystem. I looked the other day and our first customization that I published out was for Acumatica 5.3, so we've been at it for a while. We were one of the early participants in the certification process. And in the beginning, we just had 2 documents. We brought data in so you could create sales orders, and we took ERP invoice data and sent it back out so you could send it to your trading partners. Since then, the product's become a lot more complex. We have around 9 documents now, and we regularly release, certify rather, for every release. We have around 200 customers, and every day thousands of documents are transmitted in and out of Acumatica with our product. Our Super Bowl, to give you an idea, is Cyber Monday, and that's when we kind of just lock everything down. No changes are made to the system, and the volume is amazing every year. It just gets bigger and bigger, as you might expect. Just to give you an idea where we're at right now, this is our full workspace. It's a little crazy. We've got a lot of new features we still need to add, and so the question is, how are we going to add all these things? So we're going to have to figure that out. All right. So in the short time allotted, I just wanted to give a short talk about how we go about our development process and bring the product out to the marketplace. So, these are the 4 main areas of activity for us. The first one, of course, is solution design. I'm privileged to have a solution architect who's been in this business for 20 plus years, and mainly in designing ERP integrations for EDI. So, as everyone here knows, that first design is always key, and the more experience you have, we avoid a lot of gotchas. Principal development is pretty self-explanatory. Means a certified application developer like myself. Building code that aligns with Acumatica standards, is usable, and will perform well for small customers as well as customers with huge instance. The easy stuff. Quality assurance. We are constantly testing the software. For every new enhancement, bug fix, or change in Acumatica, we need to test rigorously. It's a big job. Acumatica publishes major versions twice a year, and the more customers you get in this business, the wider spectrum of versions that you will be responsible for. We officially only support, the latest release and one back, but, customers, for whatever reasons, stay on old versions and you have to support them. So, QA is very important, and I'll talk anyone's ear off if you care to listen about the importance of that. It saved us a lot of headaches. Finally, issue tracking. Our team happens to run out of a piece of software called Jira, a ticketing software system. Every new feature, change, bug, issue, research request has to come through that issue tracker, or we'd be lost without it. Okay. So just talk a little bit about the challenges we face as we go about this. The big one, of course, is what's next on the list. You know, you have to be always, you know, it's great to just build new features in your product, but it becomes a lot more complicated than that. You know, the first one there is ticketing. It's very important for us to be very responsive to customer problems or issues or needs. You know, today's brush fire can turn into, you know, howling inferno if you're not paying attention. So that always comes first. But the next one is tech debt. So like I said, we've been working on this thing since 2016, and the product's changed a lot. And our product obviously needs to change with those updates. So we always have to be looking behind us, the code we already have, and making sure it works as well as providing a great experience. Doing development is pretty self-explanatory. You know, despite what that workspace might have shown you, we have a lot of customers clamoring for a lot of new product updates. The last one there is product updates, which is a little different, and that's the things we can change in the current product to make it more efficient, make it more usable, and address customer needs. So that's actually the next big challenge for us. One size does not fit all. I think Mike said earlier, you know, our design does not necessarily match the user's fantasies, and unfortunately, we're not psychic. So, you know, it's a constant conversation with our customers. They have problems, they have issues, the ways that they can envision how the product can be better, and we have to listen to that and envision how we might change our product in order to improve it for everyone. So, you know, you have to decide what is a customer-specific issue, and from that, bring an update that makes all boats rise. And so with the, you know, huge number of versions we have of Acumatica, managing the code bases, it's just impossible for us to customize for specific customers, as much as we might like to. Finally, you know, I put in here wiggle room. This comes back to solution design. You always got to look out and find ways to make your product flexible enough that sometimes the user can help themselves using, I don't know, a generic UDF or configurable maps and that sort of thing to address their specific needs with your product off the shelf. So we're always looking out for that. So just to wrap up, give a few keys to our success. Once again, QC and more QC, it's very important. A lot of people, you know, might not like to devote a lot of resources to this, but it's, you know, a huge, huge value add. We're lucky enough, Acumatica provides a lot of good automation tools for testing, the test SDK and unit testing. I encourage anybody to check that out. The second one there is minimize ERP customization where possible. What does that mean? Well, I have, you know, can't tell you the last time I saw an instance of Acumatica a customer was showing me where I was the only customization to the product. It's, you know, it just doesn't happen anymore. So you'll do yourself a favor if you can minimize your footprint on things like sales order entry or AP bills, those, you know, very popular tweakable pages, so you avoid collisions. The third one there is the UDF extension tables. It's kind of a lesser known Acumatica technology that I'm a real proponent for, where you, instead of hanging UDFs on ERP tables like SO-Line or whatever it is, you create an extension table that Acumatica will sync with the ERP table, and it's a great way to minimize your footprint. Finally, these last ones, you know, as has been mentioned before and we mentioned again, Acumatica has a great community. I really encourage people, if you're trying to learn the product or get up to speed, everybody, you know, eventually will have the same problem that you have. So go on the Stack Overflow, go on the Acumatica community forums. If, you know, you're that unique, you can ask the question and there's somebody on there who will help you, but otherwise, there's already a lot of questions and answers. The blogs, I personally follow the Acumatica blogs and of course my MVP blogs, and have found a lot of interesting technologies to make my product better, so definitely recommend that. And you know, one of the great things about Acumatica is all the free training. I've been on other ERPs where it's much more difficult to get in there and find, you know, training for whatever you're trying to do. So, you know, there's a couple bullets there, just all the resources free resources out there for you to consume. So I recommend that. And that's it for me. I'll pass this on to Kulvir for the next.
Thank you.
So, good. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay, so another round of applause for the 2023 Hackathon champion here, Patrick. Super excited to be here on stage. My name's Kulvir Kaila. I'm with The Answer Company. I joined The Answer Company in 2019. My title, Director, Application Development. HR thought it'd be funny to call me Dad, so short for Dad there. So what we'll talk about here is, there'll be two timelines, mine as a developer and our customer, and their timeline on how they progress from their legacy ERP system to Acumatica, okay? So a little bit about The Answer Company. We're in British Columbia, Canada. We got 100 plus clients, including the construction vertical. So we're 100 plus clients there. We joined Acumatica only in 2017. So that's been great progress with the amount of clients we got in that short amount of time. We got 2 MVP developers on staff. Leo is here as well. And then we got consultants all over Canada. We're primarily a work from home office even before the pandemic. So it's been personally, it's been great for me, just the work-life experience there. And as you can see, we've been named Best Workplace in Canada for 2022. So Time Bomb. So they've been an excellent, excellent customer of ours for over 10 years, right? So they've been on one of our legacy ERPs. But that legacy ERP started to reach end of life, and then it started to crash. What their executives then thought, this was a time to let's fix our manual processes, streamline our operations, and then switch to a more modern, agile solution that can keep pace with the fast-moving fashion industry. So if you can see on the screen there, they deal with like 11 online Canadian stores. They're more of like a back office operation for a bunch of retailers. So they provide a whole array of services there. So as The Answer Company, so we're going to touch quickly on these 5 points here. So we provided these customizations and integrations to this client, and we'll kind of touch on a couple of them here. So Elastic. So what's Elastic? It's basically, it's a B2B tool that retailers use to pre-book orders, okay? So what we did before, Elastic has this proprietary data format that was very difficult for our legacy ERP system to work with. So they fumbled around spreadsheets, massaging the data into the system, and it was working well enough at that time, but they really wanted to progress forward. Then luckily enough, we had Leo on staff, came in, did a marvelous job just building this architecture around Elastic so that would allow it to become an integration to Acumatica without this manual import-export. And I'll touch on this bit in a second here, but this was an important part here where we got master data that's source of truth in Acumatica, and it's flowing back into Elastic so that the retailers then can just fire sales orders through that Elastic platform and into Acumatica. So that part's been a big success. As you can see, the CTO mentioned that we did this in 3 months, whereas it took them 2 years with their old ERP system, and it wasn't really efficient. So, and again, 100% more improvement than what they had before. Another piece, because of that Elastic proprietary data, we had to go ahead and extend the product matrix and really customize it for them. As you can see there, they're doing about 50,000 items a year. So that's how much they're generating in the system. Okay, that's a significant amount. Before, again, spreadsheets, fumbling data, throwing it into a system, hopefully it works. And they had to hire a whole bunch of staff to do this, right? So now we can do this pretty quickly, 100 times faster than the original process, which meant no more extra staff, right? So this has been a huge win for them. Okay, this is all because modern day ERP platform with the Acumatica platform, we can leverage all this, right? Oh, sorry. Prioritizing inventory. So another thing, they got all these online Shopify orders funneling in. They got all sorts of Canadian customer sites that are funneling in data. How do we prioritize this inventory? We got retailers that are priority. We want to make sure that that virtual warehouse is set up correctly so that we can give the right orders to the right people at the right time. So that was significant, a small piece, but what it allowed them to do was stay scalable for the long term, right? So this solution is going to keep them competitive well into the future, something that they couldn't really do in their previous system, okay? So I quickly went through all those customs because I showed my 15-year-old daughter the slides, and halfway through, she's like, I lost you halfway through these customs. Like, what does it really mean? So before I got to this point, so I wanted to wrap it all up. The importance here is that we tried doing this 2 years ago before Leo and I were ready as developers on the Acumatica platform. We were still busy being certified. So, application integrations, technical, all those certifications, it took us roughly 3 months. And that just gets you certified. It doesn't get you experienced. So then it takes another maybe 6 months before you think you're good. Then maybe another year before you actually start contributing effectively, right? So that timeline meant we had a consultant try to do this 2 years ago. Bless her soul, she tried to do it import-export, just didn't work. So when we came in now with a really strong technical consultant to understand we got a development staff, we started to really focus in on how do we take them from something that they know how to do to this next level, right? So with Leo's help, we did that plugin architecture. We had frame of mind to prioritize inventory and as well as the custom product matrix. So all these are game changers that can only be done on this platform. I really, really believe that because these legacy ERPs now can't compete anymore, right? So that was a key to success there. So how did we get there as developers? Back in 2019, I joined, so I was getting certified. The timing was perfect for the Acumatica Summit in 2020. So I got to meet Mark Franks. That was a key there. Met Mark. We did the 3-day training. So after this summit's over, there's the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday training. That really expedited my learning path. So I got to meet a lot of sharp Acumatica developers on staff. While I'm doing the training, they gave me tips and tricks. You can never get that if you're trying to do it on your own. Even though the certification program is excellent, that 3 days was a game changer for me. I went back, I was just super motivated on this platform. I'm really, really excited. So the next step for me, because I was at that time the only developer, we signed up for the ADN Level 2 support, which means you kind of bypass the first level. You talk directly to Dimitri and that team, Sergey. I got a lot of conversations with them on how to get past some of the technical hurdles that was happening. And then Stack Overflow, I was living and dying on the solutions on Stack Overflow, but then slowly transitioned to knowledge-based gain, and I got into becoming an Acumatica MVP, fortunately. And then, so finally to wrap up, now we're all transitioning to the Acumatica Community Forum. That's been the place where now we're contributing as well as getting feedback for solutions, right? So that's been great. Follow blogs, acumatica.dev with Brian Stevens. It's been outstanding for us. And then again, all of us, we really appreciate all the content that Acumatica provides with the training videos, coffee and code sessions with Mark, webinars, and more. So I'll pass this on to Brian. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dad. Kulvir. Actually, I love that so much. It got me thinking. I want a new title. I got to work on this though. I'm not sure about this. Builder of superb software. No, bosses get too many headaches. So, anyway, my name is Brian Stevens. I am the lead developer for SETECH, and my heart's still racing a little bit for just a little bit ago. So, thank you, Mark. And I want to, before we get any further into this, I want to parrot something that Kulvir said. For those of you that don't know, I want to make you aware of what the rest of us do know. Mark Franks is the center of this community. So when you hear John Case talk about the community in the keynote this morning, when you look around you, Go ahead and take a look around. There's actually quite a few of you, a little nervous now. So when you look around and you see this community, Acumatica is about community, but there is nothing about this developer group more so than community. And Mark, thank you for being the center of this and putting this together. There's a reason. There's a reason that I say that. And I'm going to try to make up for this, but I'm going to add something in a little bit here. Is there anyone here that has been working with Acumatica less than a year? Would you raise your hand for me? If you have only been working with C# for about a year, would you raise your hand? I wasn't sure if there would be anyone, but all right, I saw some hands. And I want to tell you right now, 4 years ago, I came to my first hackathon and summit. 4 years ago, I was you. Before I get into some of those details, let's talk about who SETECH is, because I am representing you as customers. So any of you that are a customer, again, I'm representing you. So I work for a company called SETECH. We handle storeroom management for indirect materials. We do some other projects and things like that, but our bread and butter is storeroom management for indirect materials. What that means is we handle spare parts, consumables, and things like that. Basically, our customers, we're a service organization, but our customers hire us to unplug their folks that are taking care of the storeroom and plug us in to bring best practices around indirect materials so they can focus on what they do best, make product, make money. That puts me in direct relationship with the folks that are keeping manufacturing running, the maintenance group. And that's where we'll talk this afternoon about a CMMS project that Mark Franks has alluded to earlier. The nature of our business puts us into a business process outsourcing model. And you can see what's up there. I won't get into many more details. But like some of the VARs dealing with many customers that have different tenants, we actually have an instance of Acumatica running multi-tenant. Each one of our customers is a tenant. Within each of our customers, they have multiple locations. So those are branches within Acumatica. And then each one of the storerooms we set up, we do as a warehouse. So that gives you kind of a lay of the land of how we function as a company. Now, some of you are customers, and you'll relate to this, and some of you are developers, and you may not so much, but I want to let you know where I stand. I've been with SETECH for 22 years, and on this particular slide, you can see in 22 years, I've worn a lot of hats. How many things do you do or have you done in your career that once you did it and you moved on, that you could move on and leave it behind? If you did it well, not very many, right? So we all carry that baggage with us. And so, not that it's a bad thing, my boss is here, I love that, thank you very much, I appreciate it. So, but we do carry that with us, and so it always pulls us aside. And when you've been with a company long enough that you've done a lot of different things, there can be a lot of distractions that are needed of your time to take care of keeping the business going. But my bread and butter is being a developer. I am a developer, I've been doing it for at least 2 years, we'll just stick to that. I had a 50th birthday recently, so it's the time is getting a little sensitive to me. But you can see the things that I've done, but I love being a developer. One of the things that we had to deal with as a customer is we were on a legacy system. And when I say legacy, I'm talking it was a Unix-based system. Some of that code was written in the 1980s. Yes, some of that code does still work, but I was supporting that type of a system. In that system, I was very fortunate to have other developers to work with. But when we migrated to Acumatica, my other developer that I worked with said, there's just too much here. One of us is going to have to be a sysadmin, and then one of us will be a developer. And he said, you're younger by a year. He said, you're younger, you take care of that. You can be the developer. What he didn't know is he's the one that got the short end of it because he's the one with all the headaches of permissions and all these wonderful things that Mike showed us that he's going to be able to configure for screens so I can do the really cool stuff. But that meant that I had a lot to learn. So when I say 4 years ago, those of you that are pretty new, that was me, because it was. I had 20 years of top-down programming. Do you know what top-down programming means? It means do this line. Now, the very next thing you're going to do is this line. I don't care what's happening out there. Now do this line. And then I had to learn 4.5 years ago about this thing called event-driven, object-oriented. Let's just say it was not easy. You can teach an old dog new tricks, but I was getting pretty old and it was pretty hard. So for me, since my other developer was the sysadmin now, that left me in a position that I was kind of struggling as the lone developer. we had a lot of things. You can read the rest of the slides there, but the key point here is I was struggling, and my VAR said, hey, why don't you go to the hackathon? I said, no, I don't know enough to do that. I said, no, let's get Mark Franks on the line. Hey, Mark, I got this guy that's really struggling. What do you think the best thing is to do for that?
The hackathon.
No, Mark, I'm just not real, I can't do that. And they convinced my boss that I need to go to the hackathon. Thank you, Mark. Is Josh Van Hosen in the room? I'm going to embarrass you. Josh Van Hosen had the, we'll put it politely, the pleasure of having me on his team. Thank you, Josh. Some of you that have been developing a long time, when Josh asked me, do you know how to debug your code? When he asked me that question, you go, well, what kind of developer doesn't know how to debug your code? Let's go, what do you mean debug it? We got to go call the pest control company or something? And he showed me how to do remote debugger. And so I went home, and the things that I learned from Josh in that very first year, I spent 2 weeks, and I was told I was never allowed to do it again, but I spent 2 weeks rewriting everything I had done for 6 months. Why? In part because of Josh, in part from many of the others of you in this room, mostly because when I came to the hackathon, I learned how to be a developer in this community. I didn't know all the details, but I learned that I'm not really alone. I'm not really a lone developer. I'm not really sitting there struggling on my own with no avenue. I found out that there were some things that we could do that could really help me. Before I go to that, let me show you a little bit about what we did. Me as a customer relating to this community, back in October, SETECH, again, managing indirect materials and storeroom spaces, we had a contract to go in and set up a storeroom for a customer. And across the top here, you can see this beautiful, almost empty space that they wanted to set up a storeroom. And so I got to go in and work on my non-developer activities to get this storeroom built, put the racks in, start putting materials in the bins. We use the distribution edition of Acumatica. So how do we do that? We're a service company managing the storeroom as if we were part of our customer. But we use Acumatica to manage inventory. Well, if you look at the bottom section here, you're going to see two screens. On the left, there's a custom screen. On the right, it's a standard screens with a little bit of enhancement that we might have thrown in. And again, thank you, Mike. Some of the things we had to do here, I can now pass off to my sysadmin for the enhanced part of standard. So that's going to make my life easier as we go forward. But what I want you to notice here is that in our business, we said, the fact you have to go to this screen to set up an item, and this screen to put it in a warehouse, and this screen to set up the vendor for it. And by the way, we also need to capture the manufacturer and a handful of other things I won't get into about the items to do our business. I don't want to have an end user that needs to use this every day to have to go here and here and here and here. So what does a developer do? Hey, how can I make that job easier? Can I make it so that we can maybe cut some headcount or preferably prevent having to add headcount to use this system? So what we did was we came up with this custom screen on the left. Other than being a little bit different in size, it kind of looks like an Acumatica screen, right? It pretty much has the same menu structure, the same general look and feel. A bunch of those fields kind of relate in. And so what we did was we used this tool to be able to let a customer come in and request materials that they were going to need. And then we could pass that off to a buyer who could go fill in another tab of this same screen to be able to scrub data. Wait, we don't actually have to have people put bad data in and live with it. So what we did was we created efficiencies using a custom screen so that we could control the data going into the system, but we could allow our customer to supply all that. Anybody ever done a data conversion? Your information coming in is always perfect, right? Immaculate. Every field you need? Well, yeah, we don't have that luxury either when we ask our customer to tell us what do you need. As a matter of fact, sometimes they go, hey, I need a bar that goes on that machine over there. Well, can I know the machine or the bar? Well, when they ask for that, they need a way to do it. So we made it so that we could do that very streamlined, very easy. But the key here is I'm a customer developer. We were able to use the same Acumatica tools that our ISV uses, the same things that our VAR would use. We're able to do the same things as a customer developer. as those very high-end professional people that we pay lots of money for to be able to bring us features. So what are those keys to success? And Mark gave it away for those of you that were in the room the other day. But there's the hackathon. Number one, the hackathon. Connect with the smart people. 4 years ago, I walked into a room where everybody was a programming god, and I was an idiot. And I want to emphasize again, that's 4 years ago. I still cannot believe that I've got this beautiful trophy. But thank you. But the hackathon connected to the smart people. I met people that were from different countries in Acumatica and as other representatives in this room. Sorry, a few of the memories came to mind. I started to laugh. I'll stop. But then the second one is hackathon. Because you want to come to hackathon to ask questions. You do it because you want to not just say, man, I got a problem, I couldn't get an answer, I wonder if someone... Come to hackathon expecting to get an answer. Point number one, you connect with the smart people. Ask them the questions. Thank you, Josh. All right, so come to hackathon asking questions. The third one, what is it?
Hackathon.
There you go. It helps us think outside the box. So yeah, hackathon, hackathon, hackathon. I cannot advocate it enough because it changed my career as a customer. And my boss, I'm sure, is very thankful for that because I don't have to try out the things that were mentioned a little earlier about did Chat GPT tell us, because we didn't have it 4 years ago. So do that, but in the hackathon, remember, its purpose isn't so you can do the same thing you do every day. Its purpose is to help you not just think outside the box. I don't know where the box is anymore. Sometimes they want to put me back in the box, but that's a whole different story. But step away from it. Let your mind wander. Let your mind get excited about all the things that are happening around you. The hackathon helps you do that. Now, I'm not going to go over the other bullets there, but I want to point out, notice every other bullet from here down. You've seen this twice now, right? You hear it once, good information. You hear it twice, it's important. You hear it 3 times, it's on the test. Just saying. There's no test. Don't worry. That was yesterday. So to use these tools, go out there and get involved. It wasn't by asking questions that I learned the most in my first year with Stack Overflow. It was in me looking at the questions that some of you asked and me going and doing the research to figure out how I can help you with that solution that helped me to grow. So with that, I'm sorry I went over, but,
Okay.
but that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, thanks, guys. Really appreciate the time you put together this and to share that with the community here. And hopefully some of those stories resonated strongly with you. And what I like to think about the community, I look at it as family, right? The relationships that you build. When I started the hackathon 7 years ago and started building this community, because when I started 7 years ago, we didn't have a real community. And it was my job to build that community and think of ways in which I could serve you. My mentality is a servant mentality. What can I do to help developers be more efficient? What can I do to help them in anything that they can do so that when they write customizations, when they write connections to other products or they're actually doing their own module, how can I make it so that with the end product that you release to your customers is as good as you can make it, right? That's how I feel my job is. It's about making your job more efficient and better and more enjoyable, the best I can do with the tools that we have. And it's great sitting up here 7 years later and listening to the stories that I've heard and the impact that I've had. So it's just, I'm getting kind of choked up, believe it or not. So thank you, Brian. So I created this slide mostly for the executives because I wanted them to talk about the developer community and what we do, right? So I bore people with this whenever I talk to partners or when I talk to you guys every year. So some of you have seen this before. So community heroes, Brian's a hero, right? For the work that he's done and going above and beyond. The MVP community itself, the developer MVPs, we have 28 now. I think we had like 21 last year and fewer, and we're still growing. And if you want to join us, I invite you to contact me because I would love to bring you on board. Of course, I'm going to have this letter of agreement that's a DocuSign. It's going to go to your boss. He's going to know what we're committing to, and then you sign it. We won't sue you if you don't do it. That's okay. Like some of you get really busy, and I give you a sabbatical year, right? Where you're not communicating, but you're still involved and so forth. But we do expect a lot from people who are MVPs. There's a reason why you're the most valuable person, right? Because you're a hero to the rest of the community. Hackathon, hackathon, hackathon. You get to build things together with new people. It's awesome. You know, those of you who were here the last couple of days, I hope you had a great experience. Most of the people that are new, I see them come back, and it's great to be able to have you at the hackathon. And this year I was so busy because I had 3 blog posts that were going to be in sessions that I've been putting off because of all the work that I was doing to prepare for the summit and the hackathon. And so I was heads down. So I'm sorry I didn't really mingle with you as much as I usually do. But it's really, you know, the experience and what I do in the hackathon as well that's different. You know, it's not one of these 24-hour, you know, hackathons with 20-somethings, you know, killing themselves for 24 hours. You got to be able to, you know, get some sleep and enjoy the rest of the summit. So we divided into 2 days, a Saturday and a Sunday. And I treat it like a startup, right? So I invite and encourage people that aren't developers, right? Who are consultants and IT people, even salespeople in marketing. Because if you were here yesterday, you know, presentation matters, right? It's not necessarily what necessarily is the best, it's how you show it off and sell it. So that's part of it. So I invited non-developers to be part of the team, thinking about, you know, people that have closer ties to customers, understand the business problems and so forth. And it's great. And I had someone yesterday come up to me at the end. I tried to encourage her to join a team. She was going to, but then she chickened out and she watched the hackathon presentations, and she came up to me, literally, like almost a tear coming to her eyes, like, this was so great. I should have had more confidence in myself. I should have joined the team. I understood a lot of what was going on because she was scared because she wasn't a developer, right? And she was so thankful and said she's definitely coming back next year to participate. So that's the other aspect. You know, originally, I remember the first one I invited non-developers. They're like, who are these people? Why are you inviting these non-developers? And at the end of the hackathon, they thanked me. Oh, I'm so happy you invited these people. It really made my job easier. So building together, a big part of it. Now, the other thing we've been doing the last few years is, you know, we've last almost 3 years now, and before that, you know, Acumatica started as an internal hackathon project, and now is, you know, out there on GitHub, and hopefully all of you use it. If you don't, you should be using Acumatica to test your code, and, you know, it's a really great tool. And we just released recently the latest version of it. I wrote a blog post about it and published it. And so the thing is, you know, we have all kinds of really great code out there that we share, testing and so forth that's out there, but we also started open source with the MVPs and others, and so we have Acumatica surveys, and now and that's been around for almost 2 years now, and then we have this new thing called CMMS Lite that you're going to be able to get a demo for that you're going to see in the lightning session that Brian and Josh are going to do. So this is the other thing that we want people to get involved in with the community. It's another way you would think of it as like a long-running hackathon, right? Like long-running transactions, right? It keeps going, right? We'd love to see more of these hackathon projects to continue and so forth. But these community projects, you know, keep lasting. We support them, and we want to see customers take advantage of them. And I'm really excited about the CMS project. So if you weren't planning to come to the lightning session, please do. These are some pretty exciting things. The other thing that I think Acumatica does extremely well that's been echoed is Acumatica University. The training team at Acumatica is amazing, the way they're able to create all this content and make it free for all of you to consume. It's just amazing. And of course, back to the hackathon, it's all about learning together. And then we talked about the forums. Now it's time to give back. It's what you what you get is only a matter of what you put into it. It's a two-way thing. Any relationship is going to be a two-way street. You give some, you get some. Quid pro quo. So I just want to, I slipped these slides in last night because I wanted to acknowledge the winning teams for the hackathon. So Gamma took third place. They did a project that allowed warehouse shipping dispatcher to group shipments together and to optimize routing for that. So you can see the people here, Diane Cowley, who's an MVP, Samville Petrosov, he's another MVP, and then other individuals, either customers or ISVs or VARs. The second team is Team Zeta. So they built a project that allowed a single dashboard that allowed VARs to see all the relevant details of their customers, right? In terms of not just, if I remember correctly, it allowed them to monitor their activity in Acumatica, right? And see what they're doing and their licensing and so forth and monitoring all that. And be able to make it easier for the new customers to deploy packages for each client instance. Then the winning team was Team U, so they're going to be the first session at the lightning session, right? So they'll be the first one up, and they'll demonstrate their solution. What they did was this kind of all-in-one customization package manager, right? Their big selling point was no longer does admins have to wait till 2 a.m. to publish a customization project. No longer do ISVs need to tirelessly track the customization versions that the customers run. So come, again, the lightning session, there's some really good presentations there, and they'll be the first ones up. So congratulations. And this is what it looks like to win with the hackathon trophy that you see there. So we get this picture of them, and you can see how happy they are. So just to reiterate, so we've always supported Stack Overflow. In the last year, we introduced the developer forums on our community site. We go where developers go. So we're not going to all of a sudden ignore Stack Overflow. So if you prefer to live in Stack Overflow, great, we're going to support you. If you want to move over to our community forum, love to have you. So one of the things that I talk to people and they go, new developers or new companies coming on board, and they say, I always ask them, did you know about our onboarding for new developers, like a one-stop shopping center for them, so they don't get confused within all the documentation, where to go, how to start, and so forth. So if you just go into Acumatica and you type in new developer, you can see on the screen, I don't know, can I use the laser? This will be my first. You see right there, comes up in the search, and this is the page. We have this one page for onboarding new developers. We have everything you need in one spot. So if you're a new developer, go to this page, and it'll walk you through step by step. There's shortcuts for getting an instance, a developer instance on your machine. Don't follow the consultant thing. The consultant, it's all complicated and it takes forever. We have a quick start guide for that. It'll make it much easier for you. All the training, the blogs, so you just come here and you'll learn everything you need to know to get up to speed. The other thing that we did almost 2 years ago is we started this coffee and code thing. The idea behind coffee and code was, so we do webinars. Let me step back. We do webinars, and you see PowerPoint, we're PowerPointing you to death. This is kind of the antithesis of that, right? What we do is we get in on a call, all the developer MVPs, and we invite internal engineering developers to join us, and we just talk shop, right? We have a topic, maybe there's a little bit of preparation for the person that I ask, to be prepared. You're going to get all these questions, and we just sit around, drink coffee or whatever your favorite beverage is, and we just talk amongst developers. And it's just a podcast, and I was really happy. Somebody came up to me and said, I really love your coffee and code. And I was really happy to hear that. But it's just about developers talking about development issues you have. What are the challenges and the issues? And it's great because everyone is able to ask questions and get answers. Now, being a developer MVP, every other Friday we get together for an hour and it's kind of like coffee and code, but this is shared. So I talk about what's coming up. I'm a very transparent person. I share things. I do these quarterly developer community meetings with the executive leadership team, and the metrics I have to do, and for that, and what's going on, what's our plan for next year, all that stuff. Once I do that, and I get all the feedback from the executives, I do the same presentation for the developer MVPs and let them know what the feedback was from our leadership team, right? So coffee and code kind of gives you a clue as to it's kind of a similar type of thing, but I put it up on YouTube and all of you can watch it. So just to know what our rhythm is every year I have this kind of every 6 months. So we came up with, having a developer virtual conference because I don't want to lose touch, right? So in January, end of January, early February, we have the hackathon, and we have the dev track that you're in right now. Then in June, we have a virtual, and my goal always is to have fresh content, right? Now, normally this is actually the first summit dev track where I didn't include the framework session and the web services because we've done that every year because we wanted people that are new and to refresh your knowledge and so forth to cover those subjects. And we do it at the virtual DevCon as well. But everything else outside of that is new information. So my goal is to always give you fresh looks at what we're doing and have new speakers and so forth, so you're not bored watching the same thing or just on updates. So that's really important. Then we have Dimitri, who's one of my favorite Acumatica employees because he does so much for the community. Internal guy, especially you guys who are ISVs know Dimitri because you've worked with him. And he does the what's new for developers for R1 and what's new for developers for R2. So we have a nice little rhythm. January, we do the hackathon and the summit. In March, I think it's March, correct me if I'm wrong, we do R1. I don't pay attention as much to that stuff like licensing. Yeah, you can't ask me licensing questions. And then in September, I think we have R2, and that's the rhythm. So I'm at the end of my presentation. So one of the things you want to do in a presentation, you want to reinforce, because people can really remember 3 things. So the 3 things that I want you guys to think about as a call to action is get involved in our developer community. Be part of the family. I will embrace new family members. I'd really love to see you get involved if you're not. Go out and contribute your knowledge. Even if you don't think you know, Brian, you heard him talk about it on and on and on. We had other ones who think that they didn't know anything. Brian's one of our really good contributors out on the community, and many of you do. So I'd love to see more people get involved in the community and help each other out. It's all about giving. And as a family, we want to help each other, right? And you'll learn a lot from helping people, and people will help you, and you'll build relationships. It's all really wonderful. And then we have these open source projects. We'd love to have you involved and then contribute to those as well. Now, if you have any questions or any ideas how we can improve, please email me. I promise to return your email. The more people that I can connect with, the happier and more energized I am. So one of the things we want is feedback. So we have some prizes. People hate filling out feedback stuff, but if you would, it really helps us, right? So if you can do that, I would appreciate it because I want to know how we did, how we can improve, and get back to if you were the hackathon, I want to know, what we can do to improve. And then I want to leave with you my favorite photo. This was of a couple years ago, showing how much joy there is in our community and happiness and pride that people have in building solutions together. So with that, I wanted to leave that image in your brain. Be part of the family, be part of Acumatica, contribute, come up, talk to me. If you were like Brian, I just started, come and talk to me. I'm here to help you in any way that I can. And they are too. So thank you.